Yep, I just started the recording.
Thank you.
So this is being recorded.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the September 2024 Oregon Energy Code Stakeholder Panel. Thank you all for your contributions to date, and welcome to all of you that are attending for the first time. Please save your questions for the Q&A periods, or if you have something that needs immediate attention, use the chat feature and publicly send the chat message to everyone. We're recording the session to post later on the ODA website for your review. Want to encourage input from all audience members during this meeting and seek a diverse stakeholder panel to hear varied positions. With us today, we have Building Codes Division Mark Heiser. Will lead us off in a discussion about the Oregon Commercial Energy Code. I'll move you through the agenda real quick. Mark will be talking about the Commercial Code Update, also be talking about the Commercial Reach Code Update. Then we'll move over and talk about low carbon materials and building performance standards by Blake. So that's what we have for you today. If Mark, you're ready, take it away.
Thank you, Roger. Hey there, Mark Heiser with Building Codes Division on the energy side. Want to give an update on the what we believe will be the anticipated final registering of the rule for the use of the 2024 OEESC and effectively ASHRAE 90.1 2022 is our statewide commercial building code. We are working through the last bits, and a few remaining items that we need is workable within ComCheck with our friends at PNNL. And with that, it is looking like, due to just time constraints, it is going to be January 1 will be the start date with a 6-month effective grace period to continue to use the 2021 OESC and ASHRAE 90.1 2019 through June of next year. So expect January 1st of 2025 as the start date. We have a lot of new trainings coming up. There are ones being developed by other sources that we're trying to get online. We're getting posted on the use training, and we're hoping to get PNNL to give us some, should I say, audio files to go with the update on how to use the new version of ComCheck that will be the only method to use for compliance with 90.1 2022. We have some additional training coming up on both the OESC and how to use ComCheck for the state of Oregon. Those will be posted soon. New forms, training on plan intake and review. We're updating plan intake and review sort of basics on the residential energy code. Those trainings are wrapping up right now, and we're moving forward to review for plan intake and review and inspections for 90.1 22 on the commercial side to sort of have something similar to what's on the residential side. A lot of materials and a lot of updates for the building code commercial energy page. So that is the update on the application of 90.1 2022 in Oregon. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take any right now. If people are interested in finding out or have certain areas they'd like addressed or questions about the use of the 2024 OESC. And feel free to raise a hand, ask a question, be happy to take that.
Looks like the group is pretty quiet there, Mark.
Going once, twice, and again, remember, go through the Building Codes Division Energy Program to enter commercial energy page. There's a lot of links there. Feel free to send questions. We've been getting a lot of questions from design community about some of the things that will be coming in 90.1 2022, including items about thermal bridging and the additional credits and how those are going to be working. So feel feel free to call. We will try and get you a response back. And if not, we'll work with the folks at either at ASHRAE on the 90.1 committee and can get some questions answered, or through PNNL if it happens to be a comp check issue. So with that, we can move on to the next subject.
Let me move you a slide. Hold on just a second here. Having some technical difficulties on this side. There we go.
All right. So coming up on October 15th at the next Construction Industry Energy Board meeting at 9:30 a.m., we are going to have on the agenda the kickoff for the 2025, or essentially ask to start the 2025 Oregon Commercial Reach Code process, looking at what we can do in Oregon for an advanced version of the energy code to sort of set forward a reach code for to go along with the 2024 OEESC. So as everyone knows, we went for single family as part of that program. We were looking at trying to make sure we had at least some paths to align with incentives, because that really encourages the use of the reach code as if there's some money available. And fortunately, the Energy Star and ZERH programs do have funds available, and some of the money can get pretty good for multifamily projects that are either going through the Energy Star or Zero Energy Ready Home for commercial multifamily projects. So that's one anticipated piece there. Probably one of the other items is looking at having a performance path either through the energy cost budget method or the excuse me, Appendix G methodology to go 10% better than the base code to come up with a method to go better than the baseline code. It's going to be pretty interesting because of the new energy credits that are in there, it will be 10% above a 5% improvement above the prescriptive path. Can get into that at a future date when we get into this. But we're also looking to get from the public as we move into this process, other ideas that could be considered for better buildings that can be easily verified, and preferably to try and get something that's aligned with incentives so that building owners are encouraged to try out that above code path and try and find a way to where what gets done becomes really standard practice in the state, and that way it can come in to model code and the Oregon code a lot easier. We see good ideas, we put it into the OESC. That's one of the big hopes for the reach code. So we've probably covered this a couple times at previous stakeholder meetings, and would still like to hear more from people. Send in ideas. We're more than happy to take calls. We will probably start the process and put in some initial first ideas, such as the performance path, and also having something for multifamily homes, and really try and encourage, which we hope will encourage the greatly needed affordable housing to have not only be constructed, but be more efficient, and the builders can get some incentive money to go that extra step. So with that, looking to see if there are any comments. I see a hand raised. Clark.
Hi, Mark. You and I have talked about this before, but I'm wondering if this is potentially the right pathway, and that has to do with multifamily residential. Currently, there's a exemption or a workaround that says indoor fresh air requirements can be met by having an operable window. And it seems that with fire danger and all the other things we're facing, we may need filtered mechanical ventilation to eventually become a code norm. And I'm wondering, is the reach code the right place to test that idea?
The 2025 mechanical code will be addressing most of that, but the amount of filtration and some of the controls items, maybe in the REACH code, maybe an additional thing if it can be tied to energy, yes. So, but in the 2025 codes, it will need to be mechanical ventilation for multifamily housing. There is
So
not
then
a
it
there is
doesn't
not
need
a
to be
natural
part of a-
ventilation path.
Okay, so it doesn't need to be a reach code question because it's going to actually be part of the base code in 2025.
Yes.
Thank you.
I see another hand up. Jim?
Yeah, hi, Mark. As you know, the 90.1 committee is now considering raising the renewable prescriptive to 0.7 watts per square foot to 0.5 watts, and that will be out for public review. Is the intent of this performance path to be a combination of renewables and energy, or is there a way to make it energy only performance? Have you thought about, which way the reach code should go on that?
Well, the current starting point would just be looking at what is in 90.1. But for the state, considering, yes, making that, so currently there's sort of there's some basic limits in 90.1 for the amount that can be attributed to renewables. And for the REACH code, if the intent is total, from public comment, there could be a change in the amount of, or REACH code without the use of renewables. Things like that for public proposals and comments, that's the sort of thing we'd like to hear about. So, and then seeing how that aligns with potentially whether Energy Trust of Oregon where that can align with their language, where they would, give extra funds for something like that, put that into their incentive program if it's efficiency only, and separate funding for people who wish to go above and beyond code and put in extra renewables on a building. That's another path. But yeah, that's something that could be for consideration and public comment.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. Yeah. I think some clarity on what the objectives are, both on the renewable side and the efficiency side, might make this REACH code, more informative. Thanks.
Anybody else? I guess we're past that, Mark. Time to move on to the next slide. And we have Anne with us, I believe, who's going to be
Let me
talking
unmute
about.
myself.
Hey, that'd be good. Anne, appreciate it.
I'm Anne Geyer. I started in March at the Building Codes Division as a sustainability policy analyst. So we have the House Bill 3409, which is the legislation that exists with Section 7 directing the DCBS, which BCD is within, to report on, after consultation with DEQ, options for and the feasibility of reducing greenhouse gas emissions that result from materials used in building construction. So BCD contracted Rocky Mountain Institute and in a joint contract with New Buildings Institute to complete research and analysis on emissions attributable to building construction. And we have a focus on embodied carbon with this research. And we asked them to provide an outlook of what the use of lower carbon materials in a statewide building code would look like. So since May or June, we've been receiving a wealth of information from them and have been coordinating with them on a weekly basis. And we've been coordinating with DEQ on a more like monthly basis on the organization of the report that's due to legislature at the end of the year. So that report is currently a work in progress, and it will include our findings and recommendations from the study on embodied carbon. We'll be submitting it to legislature in December, and then early next year, BCD could present our findings and discuss the related impacts to this group, the Oregon energy stakeholders. That pretty much sums it up, but are there any specific questions?
And that's kind of a new discussion for this group.
Yeah.
I want to encourage anyone to ask any questions right now. It'll help Ann with the study. So she's right in the midst of it. So get those questions out. If you don't have any that you can think of right now, make sure you email her or send them to BCD and we'll take a look.
That's perfect, Roger. Thanks.
All right. With that, if there's no questions, we'll move on to Blake Schlide from Oregon Department of Energy. He's going to give us a brief update. Let's see, hold on building performance standards.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. So I know that some of the folks on this call have been intimately involved with our rulemaking advisory committee and our BPS administrative rule development over the past several months. But just a quick update for this group. So we've been working with the rulemaking advisory committee, working through our building performance standard requirements. Our BPS was established through legislation, House Bill 3409 last year, and then we've been working mostly this year with that rulemaking advisory committee, working through the various chapters and sections of the standard, which is all based on ASHRAE Standard 100, the 2024 version. We most recently had a public meeting last week to review some of the administrative rules to date, most specifically the process and the methodology and the targets for EUI performance, energy use intensity performance, that are going to be embedded within the building performance standard as one of the compliance pathways. All the draft rules are up in their current state, are up on the website now, with an opportunity for to comment, and I'll drop a link in the chat here in just a second. But the process for the rest of the year, kind of the what's next, is that we'll be finalizing our draft rules by the end of the month. And then they'll enter into the formal Secretary of State public rulemaking process, where they'll be open for public comment during the month of October and early November. And then we'll hold our formal public rulemaking hearing in mid-November for that. And then between mid-November and the end of the year, we'll finalize our rules for ultimate filing by the end of the year. So if you're interested in reviewing any of the past materials, those are all up on our rulemaking website, including meeting recordings, where we've gotten a lot of great input, a lot of great feedback on our draft rules to date. So those were kind of the early preliminary opportunities for the RAC and the public to provide input as we were developing, and then that formal part of the process through the Secretary of State rule review comes in the fall. So that's what's coming up at the end of the month and in October and early November. So just a general thanks to the RAC and the folks that are on this call, and all the other members of the public that have dedicated a lot of their time and expertise to that process too. So this is not code necessarily energy code related, but it's energy code adjacent. So we thought it was a good opportunity to update this group on our activity with regard to BPS development. So if there are any questions, happy to answer those.
That's good stuff you're doing there, Blake. Any questions? All we have is one slide left, and that's our wrap-up slide. So I'll flip us to that. And I think I think we're going to make this the world's shortest meeting that was scheduled to be an hour and a half. Always want to make enough time available for y'all. But I think that's about it for today. Unless there's any final questions, shout them out, or you know how to get a hold of us. A little bit surprising that it's quiet, but this is some really good stuff here. All right, everyone, take back a whole bunch of your time from this meeting and enjoy the rest of your day. It's sunny out there and it's actually warm where I'm at, so I'm very excited about it. Thanks for showing up today.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks,
You bet.
Roger.
Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.